Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Bro here, hope you're doing well, and in this video I'm going to be teaching you guys how we can make a login system using Java. So, let's get into it. Before you reach the end of this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so that we together can challenge and defeat the mighty YouTube algorithm. Hey everyone, so with this project, we are not going to be connecting to and querying any databases. We're only going to be using what we've learned so far in this tutorial series to build a login system. So what I'm planning is that we can store all of our user IDs and passwords within a hash map within our project folder, and then pull the ID and password combinations from that hash map. We'll lay down the foundation for a login system, and someday you can improve upon this project if you would like to store the ID and passwords within a file on your computer, or query a database, whatever you want to do. We'll lay down the foundation at least. But for now, we're only going to use what we've learned so far in the series. So if that sounds good to you, let's get started. So if you're using Eclipse, you can go to File, New, Java Project, and let's call this project name Login System, and click Finish. So we're going to have a total of 4 different classes within our login system. So go to your source folder, and go to File, New, Class. We're going to create a main class. Then check this public static void main checkbox and click Finish. Go back to your source folder. We're going to create another file. So File, New, Class. And we're going to call this ID and Passwords. And this is going to contain a hash map of all of the user ID and password combinations. Okay, then source folder again. File, New, Class. We'll create a class called Login Page where we will sign in. Okay, one more. So source, file, new, class, and this will be our welcome page, which appears after we log in, and click Finish. Okay, so we should have 4 classes: a main class, an ID and passwords class, a login page, and a welcome page. Now let's go to our main method here within our main class, and we're going to create an instance of our ID and passwords class. So we need to type in the name of our class to instantiate an object, so ID and passwords, and let's call this instance maybe just ID and passwords with a lowercase I equals new ID and passwords, parentheses, semicolon. Okay, so we now have an instance of our ID and passwords class, so let's head here, and then we're going to create a hash map, and a hash map would work perfect for this project because they store key value pairs. The key could be the username, and the value could be our password. So we'll create a hash map, and in order to do that, we're going to instantiate a hash map. So hash map, angle brackets. Now we need to list the data types of what we're storing within this hash map. We're storing 2 strings, a ID and a password. So we're going to list 2 strings within here, and then we need a name for this hash map. So maybe we can call this login info equals new hash map. Then we need to list the data types again. So 2 strings, then a set of parentheses and a semicolon. Now we just need to import this package in order to use hash maps. Now we're going to create a constructor for our ID and passwords class. So we'll do that after our hash map. So ID and passwords, parentheses, curly braces. So in order to put some key value pairs within our hash map here, we need to type in the name of our hash map, dot, and we're going to use the put function. Oops. All right, and then we're going to list a user ID and a password. So maybe we'll type in bro for a username, and this will have an associated password of maybe pizza, because I like pizza. Now let's do the same thing. Let's add maybe a total of 3 user ID password combinations. So maybe the second will be Prometheus, who has a very secure password of password all caps. And then maybe for a third user ID, Brocode with a password of ABC123. All right, now with this hash map, we want to send this to any class that requests it. So we're going to create a getter method for this hash map. So we'll type in get, then login info, parentheses, curly braces, and we're going to return our hash map, which is named login info. So if anybody calls this method, we will send them the login info, and we need to list the return type, which is a hash map. Now let's also give this getLoginInfo method a privacy status of protected, so not just anybody can call this method then, since this contains user IDs and passwords. So let's head back to our main class, and what we're going to do here is create an instance of our login page. So we need to type in the name of the class to create an instance of this login page. Let's call this instance login page with a lowercase l equals new login page, parentheses, semicolon. Now what we're going to do here is that we're going to send our login info as an argument to our login page. So normally if you need to retrieve something from another class, you can type in the name of the instance of that class, like ID and passwords, and we're going to use the getLoginInfo function that we made. So now what we're going to do with this is actually place this all within the constructor for the login page and send this as an argument, because this is going to return our hash map, and then we're just going to send it to our login page. Alright, so then we also need to set up the constructor for our login page so that the parameters are set up to receive a hash map. So that's everything for the main class and the ID and passwords class. We're going to do a few things within our login page. So let's head there and set up the constructor for our login page. So at the top, login page, parentheses, curly braces, and we need to set up the parameters here so that this will accept a hash map. Also make sure you have this import as well. Alright, so then we need to type in the data type, hash map, and then this has a hash map of two data types, both are strings, and we will call this hash map that we're receiving a different name, maybe login info original. Now what we're going to be doing with this login info original is actually making a copy of it, and we want this to be, the copy at least, to be globally available to all methods within our login page. So we're going to create a copy of this login info. So let's create a new hash map. So hash map, then angle brackets, it has a data type of two strings, and let's call this login info equals new hash map, then two strings again. Alright, so we have this hash map, login info, and we're going to say login info equals login info original. So then we have a copy of our hash map that is globally available to our login page so that other methods can actually use this then. Alright, now with this class, we want this to implement the action listener interface. So we're going to type that in, implements action listener. And then we'll need to import this and then add unimplemented methods so that we have an action performed method so we can handle events then. Alright, so we're going to instantiate a few things before our constructor. We already have a hash map now of all the IDs and passwords. So let's create our JFrame. So starting from the top, we'll instantiate that. So JFrame, frame equals new JFrame. There we go. And then I'll just import things along the way just to save time. We'll also need a login button, so we'll create a J button. J button, we'll call this login button equals new J button. And let's add text to this right away. So we'll add the word login. Let's also create a reset button. So this will be called reset button, and we will set the text to be reset. And we'll also import these as well. Okay, we'll also need a user ID field so somebody can type that in. So a JText field would work for that, JText field. And this will be called user ID field equals new JText field. We'll also create a password field, so J password field, and we'll call this user password, I can't spell today, user password field equals new J password field. And then we'll import these as well. All right, let's add a label that says user ID and then password right next to the fields then. So these will be JLabels. JLabel, user ID label, that will be the name, equals new JLabel. And then we will set the text right away, so we can do that within the parentheses. And we will just type in user ID. We're also going to create a user password label. So actually, I'm just going to copy this to save some time. So we're going to change ID to password. And this will say password as the text. And then we also want to create some sort of message label to let the user know that either login was failed or login was successful. So we'll make a JLabel for that. So JLabel, we'll call this message label equals new JLabel. And that really should be everything that we need to instantiate. So let's go to our constructor and start designing some things within here. So let's start with the JFrame, and let's do that last. So we'll add that at the end. So for our JFrame, we're going to type in the name frame.setDefaultCloseOperation. So this will close when we exit out of it. So jframe.exitOnClose. And then we need to set the size. So frame.setSize, and I usually pick 420 by 420 for the size. And we do not want a layout manager. So set layout null. And then we want our frame to be set visible true, so we can actually see it. Okay, let's add some components. So let's begin with the user ID labels and the password labels. So we're going to do that before our JFrame because we usually like to do this last. All right, so user ID label dot set bounds. Where do we want to place this? So I actually picked a spot for this already. Where X is 50, where Y is 100 is pretty decent. Then we'll make this 75 pixels long for the width and 25 for the height. And let's do the same thing for our password label. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it, make a few changes. User password label. And we will change where Y is 100 to 150. Then we'll keep the other dimensions the same. All right, then let's add these just to test them. So frame.add user ID label. And we'll do the same thing for password. User password label. Okay, let's see what we have so far. Okay, not bad. We're going to add some text boxes here fairly soon. Let's also add the message label before I forget about that. So message label dot set bounds. We'll place this where X is 125, where Y is 250. This will be 250 pixels for the width, and the height 35 pixels. And let's set the font as well. So message label dot set font within parentheses new font, and we don't really care about a font type. We'll just set it to null for now, and we will set this to maybe italic. So font dot italic, and maybe a font size of 25. Then we need to import this as well. All right. So let's actually add some text to this to test it. So this is a test. Oh, we also have to add it to our frame. That's very easy to forget. So frame.add message label. Okay, we should be able to see it now. Okay, that's decent. But let's actually get rid of this text because we probably don't want to see that. All right, so we have our user ID label, password label, message label. Let's also create the user ID field and password field. So user ID field. So this is where somebody's going to type in their user ID. And we'll set the bounds where X is 125, Y is 100. This will be 200 pixels long for the width and 25 for the height. And let's do the same thing for our password, and I'm just going to copy this. So user password field, we'll set the bounds to be 125 and 150, and we'll keep the other two fields the same. And then let's add these to our frame. So frame.add user ID field, and then the same thing for our password field. Okay, let's try it now. Not too bad, not too bad. We can actually type in some stuff here. Now with the password, if you were to type something in, it's actually hidden, so everything is bulleted. All right, next, let's create the login button. So this will submit some information when we click on this button. So that was login button. We'll set the bounds to be where X is 225. Actually, that's wrong, 125. Y is 200. This will be 100 pixels long and 25 for the height. And then we need to add an action listener to this button. So login button dot add action listener within parentheses this. And let's copy this and make a reset button. So we'll change login to reset. And we're going to set the bounds for our reset button. So we'll just change the positioning, the X positioning to 225. And then we need to add these to our frame. So frame.add login button. And the same thing for our reset button. Okay, let's try it now. All right. So currently they don't do anything, so we'll do that. You know what? I'm going to set focusable false because I don't like that little box that's around the words. So let's add that. You can keep it in if you want. So login button set focusable false. We'll do the same thing for reset. Okay, that's better. Let's head down to our action performed method, and then let's work on the reset button. So if e.get source is equal to the reset button, what do we want our program to do? So with our user ID field, we're going to set text to just a set of double quotes, basically, so as if we're clearing it. And then we're going to do the same thing for our user password field. So user password field dot set text to just a blank set of double quotes. All right, let's actually try this. Okay, so I'm going to type in a username and then type in a password. Then we're going to click reset and everything is cleared out, which is pretty sweet. Let's work on this login info button next. So make sure to write this outside of your if statement. And this is what we're going to type. If e.get source parentheses is equal to login button. Okay, we have a few things to fill out within here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a string variable, and we'll call this string user ID equals user ID field dot, and then we're going to get text. We'll use the get text method here. Then we're going to do the same thing for password, except we have a slightly different variation of this. So string password, and since we're using a JPassword field instead of a text field, there's something else that we have to do. So what we're going to do here is string dot value of parentheses, parentheses, and then within the parentheses, what we're going to type is user password field dot get password. So it's going to retrieve the password that we type in, convert it to a string, and then store it within a string called password. And then we're actually going to verify the user ID and password. So we'll add that to the next line. All right, so then we're going to check this info that we have. So if, then we're going to refer to our hash map. So if login info, which is the name of our hash map, dot contains key. So the key is our user ID, so we're going to place that here. If our user ID is within our login info, we at that point want to verify if the password is correct. So we'll put this within an if statement, and what we'll type here is if login info, the name of the hash map, dot get user ID dot equals password. All right. So if we get the user ID and the associated password is equal, that means their credentials are verified then. So I'm thinking what we'll do is just add a message label for now, or we'll change the message label, and we'll set the foreground to maybe green. So color green. And we will also set the text. So message label dot set text. And we will just display some text such as login successful. And we also need to import the colors. All right. And then we're going to launch an instance of our welcome page, but we'll have to work on that later on. So we're going to create an instance of our welcome page because that's the next page we want to go to after this. And we'll call this welcome page equals new welcome page. Okay, let's test this out for now. So just as a reminder, here's all the IDs and passwords that we have. We're going to run the program. So I'm going to type in bro for a username, and I'm just going to make up a random password and see what happens. So we're going to click login, and nothing appears to happen, so that's good. All right, so this time I'll type in the right password, which is pizza. And then click login, and it says login successful. However, this doesn't yet open the welcome page yet because we still have to design that. So we'll work on that later. But we at least know that this is registering as a successful login, which is pretty cool. Now let's head back to our login page. So if the password equals the user ID and password that we type in, what if the password is not equal? So we're going to create an else statement, and let's copy the message label set foreground and set text method. And let's change maybe the color to red, and we will change the text to, let's see, wrong password. And let's try this again. So I'll type in bro and make up a random password, and then click login, and it says wrong password. Okay, so what if there is a user ID that we do not locate? So what we'll do here is that outside of our if statement for if login info contains the user ID, we'll make an else statement. And what we'll type in here is maybe message label. We'll set this to red. And then we will set the text to be username not found. All right, then let's try this again. So I'm going to make up a random username. So I'll type in I'm a hacker123, and I'll make up a random password, and then click login, and it says username not found, which is good then. But if there is a username that we found, like brocode, but if I type in the wrong password, it's going to say wrong password. But then if I type in the right password, and for this user ID, it's ABC123, click login, and it says login successful. All right, so that's pretty much everything we have to do with our login page. Let's work on our welcome page next. So this is what we're going to type here. We're going to create a JFrame, and we'll call this frame equals new JFrame, parentheses, semicolon, and we'll create a J label, maybe like a welcome label. So J label, welcome label, equals new J label, and we will say maybe hello. Then we'll create a constructor for this welcome page, but I want to import a few things first. Okay, let's work on the constructor next. So welcome page, and what we will type within this constructor is that we will add the frame. So frame dot, set default close operation. So JFrame dot exit on close, and then frame dot set size, and I will make this 420 by 420, and then set the layout, frame dot set layout to null because I don't want a layout manager. Then we need to set the visibility, so frame dot set visible to true. Okay, let's add our welcome label. So welcome label dot set bounds. We'll place this maybe in the top left corner. So 0, 0. We'll make this 200 pixels for the width and 35 for the height. And then let's also set the font. So welcome label dot set font new font. But let me fix that. I'll put in null for the first field because I don't care for a font style. Maybe we'll have this be plain. And then a font size of 25. Then we need to import this font and then add this welcome label to our frame. So frame dot add welcome label. Okay, this should work then. Let's try it now. Okay, so I'm going to type in bro. This user ID has a password of pizza. I'm going to click login, so it says login successful, and it opens a new window for us. Now let's say that you want to get rid of this login page here. So what we're going to type within our login page is that we're actually going to go to the action performed method, and we're going to go to within this if statement. So if login.get user ID equals password. So before we launch the page, we're going to take our frame and use the dispose method, so it actually gets rid of our frame then. Okay, let's try it now. Okay, so user ID, I'm going to type in bro. It has a password of pizza. I'm going to click login. It disposes of our frame, and it adds our new frame, our new window, which is welcome page. And all we have here, it just says hello, basically. Now let me show you one more trick that you can do. We can actually send our username to our welcome page, so it can say hello, then whatever your user ID is. So we'll actually send that within our welcome page constructor. So when we create an instance of our welcome page, we're going to pass in user ID as an argument, and then we also need to set up our welcome page to accept this. So welcome page, this will accept a string called user ID. And then for our welcome label, we're going to set the text. So welcome label dot set text to hello plus user ID. Okay, let's try it now. So this time I'm going to type in brocode, and brocode had a password of ABC123. I'll click login. Login was successful, and it says hello brocode in a new window. So that's one of a few ways in which you can create a login page in Java. And then someday, as you become a more advanced Java developer, you can always change this program where you could query a database or locate user IDs and passwords on a file somewhere. But this is only using what we've learned so far, and I would say it's pretty successful. So if you'd like a copy of all this code, I'll post it in the comments down below. And well, yeah, that's how to create a login page using Java. Hey you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. If you learn something new, then you can help me help you in 3 easy steps by smashing that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe if you'd like to become a fellow bro.